Good evening, everyone. I'm Jeff Say, President and CEO of the Culpeper Chamber of Commerce, and welcome to our Town Council and Mayor Forums. Would I please ask that you all stand, face the flag, and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag, one United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight to further your knowledge of our area. To help in that regard, voters' guides provided by the Culpeper Times are available in the back. Remember, this is an informative forum. Please refrain from any outbursts during the program. If there continues to be disruptions, that person will be asked to leave. In the interest of time, we also ask that you hold all applause until the end of each session. Please do not applaud after candidate responses. As we are streaming live tonight on Facebook and filming for Culpeper Media Network, please remain seated during the forum. Germanna Community College is mandating masks be worn throughout the entirety of the program for candidates and attendees. As a reminder, candidates have been informed of topics but did not receive questions beforehand. Candidates, you will receive 2 minutes for your introductions, 2 minutes to answer each question, and 2 minutes to make a closing statement. Our moderator will be keeping time using a green, yellow, and red lighting system obtained from Toastmasters International. The light will turn yellow when you have 30 seconds left and red when the time is up. In order to adhere to our timeline for the evening, you'll be cut off at the 2-minute mark. Our moderator for the evening will be Dr. Sunithi Ganados from Germanna Community College. Dr. Ganados is a first-generation immigrant to America. Her native roots can be traced to southern India. She's recently earned her PhD in English. As an educator, she has taught English for more than 20 years, ranging from high school to undergraduate to postgraduate scholars. She's the mother of 2, both working for corporate America. One is an engineer, and the other a poli-sci major working for a consulting firm in D.C. There will be a 5-minute break between each session. Thank you all for joining us again tonight, and Dr. Ganados, I will give you the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen and candidates. I invite each town council candidate, beginning with Mr. B. Travis Brown, to make your introductions. And remember, you will have a 2-minute time limit, and we look forward to your responses. Mr. Brown.
First off, I would like to just say thank you to the Chamber for having us tonight. And thank you to my alma mater, Germanna, for having us here as well. My name is B. Travis Brown. I'm 30 years old. I was born and raised here in Culpeper. I'm a graduate of the first class of Eastern View High School, and I currently work as a union electrician. As a town councilman, I have 3 priorities. The first one is to ensure that everyone in town and every business in town has clean drinking water, which as of this moment is not the case. Secondly, I want to ensure that everyone in town has affordable, high-speed internet. Right now, the prices through Comcast are exceedingly high. And as we all know, when one company holds a monopoly, they can charge whatever they want. Thirdly, I think that we must physically responsibly build a pool or a recreational center here in town. We must do this with physical responsibility. We cannot bust the bank to do it, but people have been promising to build a pool or a rec center in this town since I was born in 1990, and it's never happened. And we cannot just keep making campaign promises that we're going to build something for families and children in our community and not do it. So those are the 3 priorities that I've set forth in my campaign that if I'm elected to the town council, I'll implement. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. David P. Cullivan.
Thank you, and thank you to the members of the Culpeper Chamber of Commerce for hosting this forum this evening. I'm David Cullivan, and I'm running for town council. Like all of you, I love Culpeper, and I know it is a very special place. And I know that being a productive and contributing member of your community is a huge responsibility to your town, to your family, and to what you leave future generations. Not far from where we're sitting tonight, 1775, Culpeper Minutemen gathered under an oak tree. They lit a spark that night that turned into a torch. And that torch guided people down the path of freedom for generations. We all carry that torch. That is our responsibility. I'm running for town council to serve the citizens of Culpeper. I'm running to guard that freedom. And I'm running to ensure that our citizens, our families, and our businesses can thrive in our Commonwealth's best town. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Robert West Mills, Jr.
Good evening. My name is Robert W. Westmales Jr. I'd also like to thank the Culpeper Chamber of Commerce and Germanic Community College for hosting tonight's event. I'm seeking a seat on Town Council as a better way to serve Culpeper. Since moving here in 2008, I've worked in Culpeper for all but 10 years, the majority of the time being in human resources, working for locally operated businesses in the manufacturing and the highway transportation industry. I also served as the president and CEO for the Culpeper Chamber of Commerce for 2 years. During that time, also acting as the CEO for Career Partners, Inc., and sitting on the Culpeper Economic Development Advisory Council. I've also spent time volunteering with the Culpeper Airfest as a coach for the Culpeper Soccer Club. I graduated from the elite Culpeper class of 2016. I've also been a Lions Club member and sat on the board of directors for Virginia Career Works Piedmont region. Through my experience, I've learned to work with people from all walks of life. I've learned how local businesses operate, both large and small, and for profit and for not-for-profit. And I've also learned a great deal about how our local government operates, as well as the needs of our community. Through my experience, I hope to share this knowledge with the community if elected to town council. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pranas A. Remekas.
Thank you. Mr. Brown mentioned he's 30 years old. It occurred to me the other day that come next month, I would have lived in Culpeper 30 years. I was a young Special Forces Master Sergeant, looking forward to retirement, a little downtime. And when I think or reflect on the last 30 years, I think of all the changes that have happened here. I mean, a lot that some people may not be aware of. For example, 30 years ago, there was no Yellow Meadow Park. It was just a big overgrown field. The depot was on Norfolk Southern's list for demolition at that time. The downtown at night was dark, was deserted, and some considered it a dangerous place to be. The roundabout was a huge intersection with traffic that backed up in 3 different directions and gridlock on Main Street. The police department on Cameron Street was working out of a former auto repair shop. And now we've got Rockwater Park. It's become so popular that we had to add additional parking to it. And then, of course, there's miles of sidewalk that's been put in, miles of trails that have been put in, connecting Lake Pelham with Yellow Meadow Park. And those are just some of the tangible projects that former councils and this council have worked on. In 30 years, 35 citizens have served on council or are currently serving. And I'm proud to have been part of that group and their work to make Culpeper the town that it is today. Oh, and thank you for the chamber for hosting this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Robert Bobby Ryan will be responding virtually.
My name is Robert M. Bobby Ryan, and I'm a former council member, and I was on council for 20 years. And let me say this, I'm basically a conservative, but I do not belong to the Republican Party or the Democratic Party because I do not want to be told who to vote for and what to vote for. So therefore, I can't say I'm an independent. And my main concerns are the citizens of the town of Culpeper and the town of Culpeper. And that's the way I vote. Thank you.
And now, Mr. J. Fred Sapp
Hi, my name is James Fred Sapp. I want to thank the Chamber first for hosting this event and Germana for providing the space. It's a great opportunity to speak to the people and get more voice to who we are as candidates and what we want to do when it comes to Culpeper. For me personally, this idea of running for council is simple. It's about the people of Culpeper. Regardless of whether you have a party affiliation or you don't, at the end of the day, for me personally, it's about we the people. As I walk around Culpeper, I hear from numerous people, and what the overarching conversation typically is when I ask people, are you registered to vote? Do you vote? It's usually, it doesn't matter. I don't really think my vote matters. And there's a giant swath of people in this town that really truly feel their vote doesn't matter. That who they have on their council doesn't matter because ultimately the people that have been here forever, generations worth of history, what they call the Davis Street crowd, that's their terms, they think that they're the only people that matter. And my promise to all of them is simple. If I'm elected to town council, it's about all the people, not some of the people. We have a constitution. It says we the people. Not we the elite, not we the generations, we the people. And that's why I'm running.
Thank you. And now Ms. Janie Schmidt.
Thank you. And I too thank everyone for being here tonight, and I thank the Chamber of Commerce for coordinating this event and this opportunity to talk to you, my fellow citizens. I'm a born and raised Virginia girl, lived in a nearby small town until moving here. I've lived here in Culpeper, first in the county and now in the town for 25 years. I recently retired from a long career in the electric utility industry. I also owned for a while my own contractor consultant business where I traveled extensively around the country to do contract work and sales to electric utilities, municipal electric companies, transportation companies. For a while, I was president and business manager of a local IBEW union. I have felt drawn to, with all the division that we have in this country, to be part of what's happening in Culpeper, specifically to be part of the town council. I have the necessary knowledge and background, principles, and good judgment to evaluate information and arrive at appropriate decisions and solutions. I have no alliances or partnerships with any of the inner circles in town. I come with a blank slate, with an open mind, and with a servant heart. And I'm committed to supporting an all-inclusive, united community here in Culpeper. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Joe M. Schott.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Short, and I'm running as a candidate for Culpeper Town Council. Again, thank you to the Chamber and for Germana for hosting this event tonight. So my wife and I came here 17 years ago, and in full disclosure, we were just looking for a house. We were both single parents when we met and married. We had an instant family of 5. We then had 3 boys, all in a small townhouse in Northern Virginia. And one of those was not going to survive, either the parents, the kids, or the townhouse. So we came out here to Culpeper to look at a house. And we liked the house, but then we ventured into town, and we absolutely fell in love with the town. We had merchants inviting us into the shop and talking to us, introducing us to other residents, a gentleman tipping his hat at my wife. We just had a whole bunch of stories. We had found, not our house, we had found our home. As an Army brat, if you ask me where I'm from, I've got about a 20-minute long answer. My boys, Culpeper is their home. This is our home. I spent about 8 years in the military and then transitioned into a defense contractor role. I'm responsible for building large systems for the government and managing them. I create teams across federal agencies, private industry, and academic institutions to deliver a solution for the government. We work together towards a common shared goal, despite our differences, despite where we're from, despite how we sound. We work together. Here in Culpeper, over the last 17 years, I'm fighting with this mask. I apologize. It needs to come with suspenders. I have spent the last 17 years investing here in our town that we love. I've coached and managed sports teams, established and led scouting groups. I've taught firearm classes. We lead ministries at church, community outreach events for our town and our neighborhood. This is not just where we live. This is where we do life. Now, I love that people tell me Culpeper is a great place to be. My answer is always, this is a great place to be from. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Mr. Adrian Sledge.
Good evening. Thank you to the Culpeper Chamber of Commerce for this opportunity. My name is Adrian Sledge. I am the pastor of the Move Church, also the founder of Got to Move Outreach Program. I'm also a retired military soldier with the Army of 26 years. I am currently a logistic management specialist for the Department of the Army, which I've been doing for over the last 25 years. I became a part of this community of Culpeper in 2011. And since I've been here, I have great opportunities to work in a lot of community outreach programs, from giving kids school supplies to giving young teenage mothers diapers. And just recently, we was able to support 150 families with 2 boxes of cereal and a $5 gift card for milk. So I've been, also lastly, if you ever heard of the Culpeper Youth, I was also a part of that steering committee to start the Culpeper Youth. I was invited to do that. So youth and community is a big thing for me. The reason why I'm running, because one of the things I want to do is I want to uphold the integrity of the nonpartisan office of the town council. We have to be able to work together and do the right thing together, not for political parties, but for the community. I also want to be an advocate for the rec center here, but I only want to be an advocate for a rec center or pool as long as it's with collaboration with the Board of Supervisors, so that way just not only town citizens are paying for this, but it's a joint collaboration with the Board of Supervisors. And I believe that with my relationships with some of those individuals on the Board of Supervisors, I believe we can make this happen within the next 4 years. I also want to address, if I'm going to get to town council, the poor quality of housing conditions in low-income areas. For example, we have places like Bell Court, Friendship Heights. We have rental properties that's in our town where people with low income are not, they need to have dignity and standard, and we need to make these landlords accountable. Finally, I want to be able to work with our town council to reduce our property tax to one day eliminate it once we get rid of all our debt. Thank you for this opportunity, and I hope you vote for me.
Thank you. Mr. Bill Yao.
Thank you, and thank you to the Chamber for hosting this event tonight. Let me provide a brief profile about myself. I have a degree in economics from Virginia Tech, and I'm currently the vice mayor, and I've served our community for 30 years and want to continue in that capacity. I've chaired the Finance Committee for years and believe, as our auditors have said, that we're in great financial shape. I believe that we are in a strong financial position. I believe any elected official's primary responsibility is as a fiduciary to the taxpayer's dollar. We have not raised real estate taxes in 20 years, and I've also supported our public safety department, and though we have one of the best units in the state of Virginia, as evidenced by the CALA designation that we have. Out of the 300 police units in the state of Virginia, there are only 30 that are have qualified and have passed this accreditation, and we have passed the advanced accreditation and are in the top 23. I've supported the effort for a local swimming pool and enhancements to our parks for our youth. I'm also on the board of the Culpeper Housing and Shelter Services and also Culpeper Renaissance. Culpeper Housing Services is working right now toward obtaining more property for affordable housing, which I think is a great thing is needed in Culpeper. I'm a member of St. Stephen's Episcopal Church and have been since 1972 as an active member. I've been on the vestry, I've been the senior warden and the junior warden. And I want to let you know that I believe that we have, and the police will tell you this, that we have a mental health issue or a crisis in Culpeper along with drugs, and that we have recently have gotten 2 new positions that are working out of the police department. One of them is a position that was from a grant from the Rappahannock Rapidan Community Services Board, and the other one is from the Wellness Center and PATH. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you at the polls, and I hope you vote for me on November the 2nd.
Candidates, thank you for your introductions. We will now move to the questions, and each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to these questions. Please ask me to repeat the question if you want me to do so. Water quality has been a major talking point among civilians. What can you do to address this issue? Mr. Brown.
So, with the H&S report that was performed by the board, or excuse me, the council last year, it showed some issues that we definitely have with the system. And those recommendations of replacing the old galvanized piping is currently, in the process of happening, and it needs to continue. The second issue at hand is the amount of bacteria that's in the Mountain Run watershed. So DEQ, which is the Department of Environmental Control, or Quality, is in charge of testing of both Mountain Run and of Lake Pelham and the watershed in and of itself. Those reports show that Mountain Run is not really an acceptable amount. It's really not clean. Same thing with Mountain Run itself, but Lake Pelham does meet those standards of the state. I find it hard to believe that two lakes within the same watershed could have different qualities, especially when one is downhill of the other. Our water in town comes from Lake Pelham, and it also comes from 3 other wells. And basically, we have a system where those well water mixes with Lake Pelham itself. What we need to do as a community is we must involve the state and we must involve the county in order to fix these bacterial issues. Without the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality, we cannot really take a step forward into figuring out what is going on in Lake Pelham and how we need to deal with the issues of bacteria within it. And until we do that, our water quality, no matter how many pipes we replace, is still going to be subpar. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cullivan?
$240,000. That's how much the town spent to pay an expert to tell them what you already knew. Now, after talking with people around town for the last several months about the water issue, what seems to aggravate people the most is not the outrageous price tag of the report, is that for so many years, their concerns went unheard, that no one really listened to them. Our town's water issue did not happen overnight. It happened over many years, and it happened over many councils. Our 2 incumbents running for re-election to the council have a combined 36 years on the council. 36 years. That is a long time. A long time, I'd argue, to solve lots of issues. Issues like the town's water. It's pretty audacious to ask voters to re-elect you after 36 years of questionable performance. But we have to look forward. What decisions are we making now that will saddle future generations of Culpeper citizens with water issues? For instance, are we actively exploring alternatives to the pipe material for new or improvement projects? We have to look at that. Our town deserves better. Our children deserve better. You deserve a council that will hear your concerns, and you deserve a council that will not kick the can down the road.
Thank you. Mr. Males?
So it seems like every 2 years that water quality is a hot topic in the town of Culpeper. And yet, just like my the other 2 candidates have said, we still haven't seen any results. We haven't seen changes. Yes, we've had water testing. Yes, like Mr. Cullivan said, we got results, but no one was surprised. There is a consistency issue. We have old pipes in the Oak Lawn with people complaining about rusty water. My water, personally, it's clear, except for whenever we do hydrant flushing. Meanwhile, I have a neighbor just right down the block from me that they have brown water. There needs to actually be results and not just conversation. On July 5th, 2021, we received $19.5 million from the American Rescue Plan Act. Part of this money can be used to make necessary water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure investments. I think this would be a smart investment to put towards our community. We need to think about the health and safety of not just our existing community, but also for our future community. Hopefully, this year, if elected, that I can help roll out those changes.
Thank you. Mr. Remekes?
Okay, I guess I'm smiling, by the way. I guess I'm in the awkward position of having to defend what the county or the town is doing on the quality of the water. The Hayes and Sawyer study that we did in 2019 was in response to citizens concerned about their water. We did an independent study. We had cost $250,000, took about a year. And the end result is the water is safe, but what we're dealing with throughout the town is aesthetic issues of discoloration, odor, and taste. And I get that. The study shows that most of that is actually coming from the plant and not from the distribution lines, not from the pipes. Before the final draft was done, we were already working on recommendations that Hayes and Sawyer has suggested, and we're continuing to do those, make those improvements. And with regard to the ARPA funds, we already decided, well, the staff and council met in July. We had a retreat and decided how, looking at the ARPA funds, what projects qualify because there are restrictions there. And $6 million of that 19 is going towards the wastewater water plant and the wastewater plant and some other associated issues. That report of our projects is due to the U.S. Treasury at the end of next month. If it's approved, that's exactly what we're going to do, is continue working on that problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bobby Ryan will respond virtually.
As far as the water is concerned, I've been drinking town water for over 70 years, and I don't see anything wrong with it. And I've heard it, there's too much chlorine and this, that, and the other. I don't taste it, I don't smell it. So we've had water issues with discoloration of it, but we corrected that a few years ago, and it was mainly in the Oak Lawn area. And I think that, and because I'm not on council, I think that problem has been solved.
Thank you. Mr. Sapp?
Well, contrary to what has been said so far, the problem hasn't been solved. As Mr. Merrill said, I don't have brown water. My water does stink. It smells horrible, okay? But just like Mr. Merrill's, my neighbor 3 doors down has brown water, okay? If the water treatment plant or what have you is the problem and not the pipes, I believe our block is probably fed by the same pipe. So why is his water brown and mine's not? Why is mine stinking, his doesn't? I think it's somewhere between the water plant and homes. Now, the best way to start working on this is if multiple people, I'm sure numerous people up here will say the same thing, it's the pipes. I've heard that twice already. If it is the pipes, let's replace them. We don't really need to spend there's estimates out there of what it would cost. But you know what? We're a town. We can get competitive bids. We need to make people work for the money we give them. Okay? People say, well, let's use ARPA funds or DARPA funds or whatever they are. Okay? Good answer. But there's other things in this town that we need to, use those funds for. We need 2 fire trucks. Okay? Because our fire department answers so many calls every day, but they're working with old equipment. That's where that type of money should be going, to take care of those guys that can't do fundraising because of this pandemic, okay? And put out some competitive bids. Replace the pipes, Okay? I don't know anybody who wants to drink this water. If Mr. Ryan drinks it, good for him. I have a water cooler in my house, and if you go to my Facebook page, I buy 2 or 3 5-gallon tanks of water at least twice a week.
Thank you, Mr. Sapp. Ms. Schmidt?
You may have read in the paper that the town has won several awards last year for water quality delivery. However, there still remains many households with bad tasting, smelly water, often with sediment. The standard of water should be taste. If the water tastes good, then it's probably fine. The town has made efforts in the last few years to do things about the water. Certainly, I think the hydrant flushing that they have started and that they do on a regular basis now has helped with the condition. I'm told, too, that the last evaluation identified that the brown in people's home water filter is iron, which is, on the level that it is not a safety issue. It's not manganese. From my many talks with homeowners in different parts of town, it appears that some areas in town seem to have good quality water that they will drink, but many of the towns, especially on the south end of town, continue to have issues with the water. Not just the taste, but also leaving sediments in the showers and toilets and so forth. One issue may be that it's hard water. The town, a few years ago, only depended on Mountain Run for water. They've since that time drilled wells as a backup in case something should happen to the lake. Certainly, we have 29 that runs across the lake, so anything could happen. I like the fact that they've done these wells and they can depend on that. So we have different types of water here. I understand that replacing some of the old pipes, adding microfiltration, and doing that to the wells also is an expensive option, according to the town's consultants. Perhaps at least getting some competitive bids for material, or for picking out several projects where we know the pipes need to be replaced, and using those as a test bed to get real quotes and to do real repair work gives us a solution. Thank you.
Mr. Short?
The fact that our moderator had to choose 2 questions to ask, and she chose this one, tells me this is a very significant issue in our community. And it is. As a dad who had to put his little kids into a tub with brown water, we spent a lot of money on bubble bath. It is an issue. I was talking to a very elderly lady over in Willow Shade, and for her, about every 2 or 3 months, brown water comes out of her pipes. No one's ever been able to tell her why. So I know we have an excellent town manager. Mr. Hively is a superstar, and we've got a great operations staff, and I've talked to them about this issue, and many would be surprised to know that they're just as frustrated as we are. They feel like they've chased this issue in 100 miles of pipe that are laid underneath our streets. So typically towns grow at about a rate of 1.5% to 3%, a little under 3%. Culpeper has had time periods when we've grown over 14%. It's a phenomenal rate of growth. That takes your aging infrastructure and it really applies a stressor to it. Add to that all the new developments in town, and we have issues. Lake Pelham is our primary source. Mountain Run is a great backup. The 6 additional wells added to the system has certainly helped from a capacity perspective. From the study, it looks like the issue, the iron, the mineral deposits are coming in before the water is blended. It's a very expensive solution. It's going to cost a little over $15 million and take about 10 years to implement, but there is a solution there. The issue is that it's a very hard solution to implement because it's going to be costly. Our water rates will probably have to go up, and I'll be the first one to complain. But sometimes you have to make the hard decisions on council to do that. How many of us have told our kids that we'd love to be your friend, but first, we're going to be your parent? These hard decisions need to be made. I'm hoping that in 2 years, when we have another town council candidate forum, this question is not one of the ones selected.
Thank you, Mr. Short. Mr. Sledge?
Yes, thank you. Water is a basic necessity and a right Clean water is a basic necessity and a right for every American citizen. What we must understand is, I heard what some people said, but if we have 99 homes out of 100 that have clean water and one still doesn't, we have failed. That is a failure. We should not stop working till we get every home with clean water. And I think quality water. And I think what the problem is that our politicians over the last 8 years have been so distracted over national issues that we forgot about home. We have concerned ourselves more with what's going on in the White House instead of taking care of our house. And we must understand that just because I have clean water at my house, I should be concerned about my neighbor. We have people in low-income areas, they can't afford to go get bottled water. They can't afford to go to Walmart. They can't afford to go to Safeway, so we have to drink our water. They're giving this water to our children. They're giving this water, they're bathing our children, they're cooking in this water. And here's the thing, we have pregnant women who are drinking this water. So what we have to do is we have to start focusing on home, focusing on Culpeper. So whatever the problem is, we can talk about what the problem is, whether it's piping, whether somebody come in, let's get it done. Whether we have to cross the line and work with the Board of Supervisors, we have to work with the state, get it done. So we have to start caring more about our citizens than our own political views. And yes, it gets brought up every election, but is it just a thing we bring up just so we can get voted for, and then once we get in office, we forget about it? We have people, and at the end of the day, regardless of what it tastes, if it's safe, nobody wants to drink brown water. Who wants to drink brown water? So that's the bottom line. I'm not drinking brown water. If I'm not drinking brown water in my home, then no one in Culpeper should be drinking brown water or water that stinks. So that's all I have to say on that. Let's get it done. Let's work together, get it done. Because at the end of the day, if it's one home that doesn't have quality water, we have failed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sledge. Mr. Yowell?
Yes. Having a water study is kind of the nature of the beast when you're in public service, because the citizens aren't going to take my word for it or the staff's word for it. Therefore, you've got to have studies. And the Hazen and Sawyer study did indicate that there were some minor improvements that needed to be done, and it's also been said here, some of that was flushing, which discolors the water. Now, to clean the water, you have to have chlorine and a lot of charcoal. And I think we all know that. But in my home, sometimes we have the chlorine taste, so I have one of those Brita things that you pour your water in, and there's a filter on it. But the Hazen and Sawyer study also said that there are some micron filters that become dirty, but they're very microscopic. It does not hurt the quality of the water, but if you wanted to get rid of those particulates, it would cost the town $15 million to fix it, and it would cost about $100,000 more a year in operating costs and approximately a 25% rate increase. So the town is always working to fix broken lines, repair old lines. Of course that happens, and we've been doing flushing that discolors the water. The good thing about the ARPA money is that we have a list. The town developed a list, and we've got about $8.8 million that's designated to go to fixing some of the things that are wrong with the water and wastewater plant. So hopefully that's going to go a long way to dispelling some of these fears that people have about water. And the first thing we're going to do is spend about $6 million on a sludge centrifuge replacement that's about 40 years old. So that's where we stand on that. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next question, how would you propose to use the ARPA grant money to improve quality of life in the town of Orange?
What was the question?
Mr. Brown?
Excuse me. So obviously we have a certain amount of grant money that the town has currently. The big thing is our infrastructure in and of itself. I definitely think that water quality is one of those issues that we need to look at, as we talked about previously. Secondly, broadband internet within town. When we have issues with connecting to people around us, as the pandemic has hit, we've all either been working from home or our kids have been going to school from home. We need to have a network in place that is affordable for people of lower socioeconomic status, for us to be able to do our jobs, for us to be able to connect, with the people around us. I'm a millennial. I'm the internet generation. Being able to work from home, unfortunately, I can't, but a lot of my friends do. If we want to attract businesses to towns, tech startups, if we want to attract young professionals to town, in tech businesses in and of itself, we must have affordable internet. And using that grant money to bring in a company like Ting or a company like Horizons who build small town networks and then service them for affordable prices is very important for our future as a town. With that being said, we also need to take a look at other infrastructure in town as well. I definitely think roads are always a good piece of infrastructure for us to focus on. I know, good job by the council, the county, and VDOT of building the roundabouts in town. They've definitely relieved a lot of traffic in town. Projects like that are really what we need to spend that grant money on to ensure that we have, to ensure that we are able to keep growing as a town and attract businesses and professionals to live here. Thank you.
Mr. Calderon, do you want me to repeat the question, or do you remember?
I remember, thank you. Like Mr. Ramika said, the council met over the summer and put their heads together and found some solutions for some of that money to allocate it to some projects. So obviously a chunk of it is already has a home and already has a place to land. But there certainly were town infrastructure projects that got sidelined or postponed over the last year. If you look at the master plan as well as the park master plan, it lays out ambitious agendas, connecting trails, making the town more walkable and more livable. So there's certainly opportunities to try to get some of those things back on track that the town has kind of got sidelined over the last year. But I also think kind of have to look outside the box a little bit too. We all benefit from the selfless dedication and heroic work of our volunteer firefighters in town. But their aging equipment sometimes can cause their ability to respond, can cause problems with responding to emergencies. And I think one of the pumpers is close to 20 years old. And the National Fire Protection Association recommends a well-maintained pumper or engine after 15 years should be rotated off of the front lines and only used as a reserve. We've already crossed that mark. So if there's an opportunity, obviously their fundraising took a big hit over the last year and a half. If there's an opportunity for some of that money to go towards sort of the public safety side of supporting our volunteer firefighters in town, I think that's one of those types of long-term investments that will benefit every citizen in Culpeper, and we can be proud of every time we see the sirens going down Main Street.
Thank you. Mr. Mayles?
Yes. So Culpeper is one of the top 5 fastest growing towns in the state of Virginia. We have more, we have a constant flow of people moving in. And also recently, I know the town council approved for a new subdivision to be developed in town. What this means is that, like Mr. Brown said, we need stronger internet, we need consistent internet. Going back to water, we need to make sure that we have a strong enough water supply and quality water to provide all citizens. We also need to make sure that we have consistent electricity and power being provided to all of our citizens. This also means that with more people moving in, we have more traffic on our roads, so we need to make sure that we maintain our existing infrastructure as well as making improvements as needed. And we also need to make sure that we're supporting our local law enforcement as well as other first responders, is that with more people coming in, we also need to make sure that we can support them through their health and safety. Like Mr. Colvin said, we need to make, with our fire department, they have aging equipment. We need to make sure they have the best available. And also with our law enforcement, especially in today's day and age, we need to make sure they have the proper training equipment as well. Through all this too, we need to make sure we maintain the integrity and personality of Culpeper to make sure that we are still one of the most livable places in the state of Virginia. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ramikis?
Yes, well, I wouldn't disagree with what I've heard so far. We're talking about ARPA money, and most of what I've heard doesn't qualify, would not be an eligible project under ARPA. The general rule on ARPA has to somehow be related to the effects of COVID in the last 2 years. So, like I said in the previous question, where the projects that we submitted to, or will submit to U.S. Treasury have to do with infrastructure for upgrades and improvements to the water plant, the wastewater plant. A good chunk is going to go to the police department for a variety of things. Last year, the town had a reduction in force because we couldn't pay enough salaries for the people. There's about a $6 million shortfall in revenues. Some of the ARPA funds can be used to replace those lost revenues, and that's probably over about 2 years now. And then to use ARPA monies to rehire, which we've already done in some cases, rehire or fill those positions again that we had to close some years ago. With regard to fire equipment, or the fire department, that's traditionally been a county responsibility, and the county has ARPA funds as well. So I would recommend, we've already decided where we're going to go. We're going to focus on the town things, and the county will hopefully focus on their county responsibilities. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bobby Ryan.
As far as the grant money is concerned, I believe that I would first give some money to the local fire departments because of the virus. They have not been able to raise money as they have in the past. Also, I would give money to the town police and the sheriff's department so they can retain good officers and not have them leave due to a monetary situation. From there, I would give money to the Presbyterian Church because they feed people all the time, and also the food closet because they have people in there all the time. And I would give money to SAFE, which is Services for Abused Families, and the Full Circle Thrift Shop because they all do things for the community. Also the free clinic and any other project that would help the community.
Mr. Sapp.
Well, as Mr. Pranas shared, the ARPA money does have to go to certain projects. But where I think he may be wrong is Culpeper 1 is in the town of Culpeper. Culpeper 1 answered 900 calls for the town of Culpeper last year. They didn't answer calls for the county unless it was an assistance. They answered them for the town. So we can kick the can over to the county, or we can take a little bit of our money and buy them 2 new pumpers. Or, your councilman, what I would do personally, I'd talk to the Board of Supervisors. Hey, if you want to make it a county issue, let's make it a county issue. Let's split the cost of those 2 new pumpers. I don't know anybody that's going to say, no, let's not buy fire apparatus, because then they're going to have to answer for that during their next run for election. I think what has happened here is we've gotten some people that are very comfortable with their positions, and they're not thinking outside the box. It's time for new blood, new ideas, fresh ideas to make some changes. There's nothing wrong with talking to the guy on the other side if you have a political party. There's nothing wrong with talking to the Board of Supervisors, even if y'all don't get along, because it's not about you. It's about the people of Culpeper. We got to stop with this infighting, the divisive stuff, and get back to taking care of the people. And that's how I would do it. I'd get the pumpers. As my mom would say, come hook or crook. The fire department would have their pumpers. However, I had to do it. And ARPA money is probably the best way to do it.
Thank you. Ms. Schmidt.
Well, we're talking about quality of life. We're talking about the ARPA funds. We're talking about what has happened to our nation, what has happened to our town as a result of COVID and the shutdowns and the relief money that we have. It's a big subject. I don't know how you covered that in 2 minutes, but we'll try to hit on the high points here. Certainly, we have things that we need to do with the infrastructure in town. We've talked about broadband and fiber in town for communications, to facilitate that for all of our diverse citizens. We've talked about safety and supporting the police department. Certainly with what's happening with the idea of defunding the police, it's not affected us here as much as it has in other areas. The police department currently has 2 openings, and I'm told by Chief Jenkins that he has actually been contacted by other police officers in other communities that would like to come here to this area. Either that or they're going to get out of the profession, the police profession. So certainly we need to do what we can to support our police department, our fire departments, our EMS departments. We need to support the businesses here in town that have suffered. The small businesses have suffered tremendously as a result of the shutdown. We need to support those businesses as best we can and also seek to bring new business into town. ARPA funds can be used for these things as well. We have an issue still remaining with flooding in town that needs to be addressed as well. Every time we have a heavy thunderstorm, we have the parks that flood, and we have the hotel that has flooded twice last year and displaced 50 people, women and men and children also that were living in that apartment. We also have a homeless population here. We certainly need to do something with the number of people that are homeless in this country, in this town, rather. So those are all things that we can certainly use the ARPA money for that directly affects our citizens.
Mr. Short?
So for those of you who don't know, ARPA stands for the American Rescue Plan Act, and it's a $3 trillion once-in-a-lifetime payment to states and local governments. But there are only 4 categories that you can use the funds for. And those are emergency pandemic response, essential worker premium payments, government services, and infrastructure. And as much as I would love to see those funds used elsewhere in the community, legally, we have to keep within those categories. Essential worker premium payments is where I would start. We have an attrition rate with our government staff, and it's nothing unusual or to be alarmed about. It's happening all across our country right now, primarily a result of the pandemic. These additional premium payments can be used by our HR management to increase incentives to bring quality people to Culpeper and to retain the outstanding staff that we currently have in place. Government services. We have an amazing police department. We have one of the top 5 police departments in the entire country. It's phenomenal. And the reason for that is great leadership and dedication to the profession. They've had a high number of incidences over the last 3 or 4 years. That number continues to raise with emotional and mental health crises and substance abuse issues. Oftentimes, those folks that are suffering through that, when the police are called, they're detoured towards jail. This co-responder program instead moves them over to be able to receive the type of treatment that they actually deserve. That would be a great use of funds. Right now, we have 1 co-responder. He desperately needs 2 or 3 other folks to come in to cover other shifts. Our police department has about a $6 million budget, but we only allocate about $160,000 to support our fire and rescue. We have some great people in uniform who are running into burning buildings to save us that we desperately need to support as well. And lastly, infrastructure. Along with our water issues, we also have electrical issues that need to be addressed, and I believe the funds could be used for that.
Thank you. Mr. Sledge?
One, if I could, I'd give the money to everybody sitting in this room, but I can't do that because that'd be against the law. But I think one is we need sidewalks. The Culpeper County School, they were short on bus drivers, and they were making children walk to school who are less than a mile. But the problem is that a lot of our schools in town, such as Sycamore Park and other schools, do not have sidewalks. So our children are going to school. We got kindergartners and first graders walking in the street just to get to school. And I think we need to try to put some sidewalks there. Secondly, I think we need to jumpstart some of our closed businesses. One of the things we say that Culpeper is one of the fastest growing towns. Well, once these people find out that there's nothing to do for families in this town because we have a skating rink that closed and a bowling alley that's closed, they're not going to move to our town. And right now, we're losing money because we got families having to go to Fredericksburg, Charlottesville, or even Warrenton to even try to do something with their family. So lastly, I think one of the things I want to do, I've been working on this behind closed doors when I'm elected town council. One of the things I want to do across our country, we do have some policing problems. Culpeper has set the standard in community policing, our town police. So one of the things I want to create is an accredited 24-hour certified program of a community policing program where our town police, we could put together a curriculum introduce it to our governor and make it a statewide program, so that way all law enforcement in the state of Virginia will come to Culpeper for that 24-hour training program for those 3 days. And while they're here, that means they'll use our hotels, they will eat at our restaurants, which will also generate revenue for the town of Culpeper. And also it'll create better opportunities for our police officers. We'll see less people being arrested. We'll see we don't have to get into this battle with somebody unarmed or armed because somebody got shot, because we have one of the best community. I've been in a lot of states. I'm from San Antonio, Texas. I live in Colorado. I'm from the inner city of Tampa, Florida. Culpeper has the best police department. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Yao.
If I understood you correctly, this is about how we're going to spend the ARPA money, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the ARPA money is a very complicated issue, and we actually don't have all the rules yet. But we do know that we can use it for certain infrastructure, police overtime, to retain officers, and to reimburse some of the money that we spent on personal protection equipment. I'm not sure what we're able to do with the fire department, but we are aware that they need some help because of their fundraising efforts have been curtailed. We can reduce certain things using the ARPA money, but we cannot use the ARPA money to use as tax replacement. So that kind of hinders us a little bit. We're hoping to have some general fund bonds paid off by the year 2027, which will free up about $1.7 million that we can use for some infrastructure work and also maybe to help fund the pool that we've been talking about. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Candidates, thank you for your very candid response. You will now have 2 minutes to tell us your closing statements or make your closing statements. Mr. Brown.
So, as I stated earlier, I was born and raised here in Culpeper. Culpeper will always hold a special place in my heart. I love it here. I moved away and came back for a reason, and that's because growing up, I felt like this community supported me, even though we've always had our differences. It never got to the point where we were divided down the middle the way that we are right now. The divisiveness within the national political scene has seeped into our local politics here in Culpeper. Even though Culpeper had always leaned right, it never felt like someone on the left was excluded. When Ed Scott was our delegate, when Mr. Nixon was the chair of the Republican committee, there was tact. There were people who had conservative beliefs, but were kind. Right now in Culpeper, I don't see that. I see two sides fighting like cats and dogs. We miss the Southern hospitality that I grew up on. I'm an independent, I'm nonpartisan. I want what's best for Culpeper, and us fighting amongst ourselves is not it. I want us to be able to come together and put aside our differences. The issues that Culpeper faces are not about left and right. They're about what's doing best for our community in a physically responsible way. The culture wars are not here in Culpeper. We have issues with our water, we have issues with access to internet, and we have issues just having things to do here in town for families. It's the job of the council, to fix those issues, not to squabble. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Cullivan?
Thank you again for this opportunity this evening. You know, one of the wonderful things about living in a small town like Culpeper is that we're often detached from some of the larger issues and problems in bigger communities. We might read about these things on Facebook or see them on the news and think, this could never happen here. But we're all connected. We're not immune. So as a voter, that's why you're here tonight. You need to know who your politicians are, who your candidates are, who your elected officials are. So we'll hear people talk about, well, you know, certain issues may not be relevant for a local race, and of course it's nonpartisan. Well, they're absolutely right. It is nonpartisan in the sense that there's not an R or a D behind our name on the ballot. But millions of American families naively believed their councils and school boards and other elected bodies were nonpartisan as well. And they learned a very painful lesson over the past year. There's nothing partisan or political about wanting to know the positions and the beliefs of your candidates, what their worldview is that they'll use to make decisions that will affect your life. So I encourage you, learn about your candidates, learn about our platforms, learn about our vision for Culpeper. I promise, I commit to you that I will serve as a council member that understands the proper role of government and has faith in the people of Culpeper. I believe that our rights come from God, not from government. And I believe that individuals and families and businesses in Culpeper can do amazing things when government gets out of their way. I believe that these muzzles belong on career politicians and never on school children. And I believe that every business is essential and every worker is essential. And how dare some bureaucrat tell you otherwise? I believe in you, and I will never betray that trust as a member of the town council. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Males?
First off, I want to wish best of luck to all the other candidates during the rest of this election season. Thank you again to Germanna Community College and the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. Finally, thank you to everyone in attendance and everyone who's watching elsewhere. We are at a political turning point in our country. We have become a polarized society, allowing national rhetoric to dictate our conversation about discussions about our own community. Change needs to happen from the bottom up, not the other way around. Because of the ease of access to information, more people are becoming politically involved and voicing their opinions. We need elected officials who can look past party lines and represent individuals and businesses regardless of what side of the aisle they vote for. We need people who don't prioritize singular interests or political agendas, but instead prioritize the needs of the whole community. Because of my professional and personal experience, I can be that person for Culpeper. I'll tell you a story about my first meeting with local business leaders. I was invited by my boss at the time to attend a major industry council early in my career here in this community. All that I could go through my head was that I'm this young Yankee insert going into this meeting with these business people who have been established probably longer than I've been alive. They're not going to listen to a single thing I have to say. I was wrong. Not only did they welcome me, but they also listened to my ideas, encouraged my professional growth, and also welcomed me into the community. At that moment, I knew that Culpeper was my new hometown. I want to provide that same feeling for other people. My wife, she's been a teacher here for 16 years. My son, he goes to school here, Culpeper County Public Schools. I've been working here for 10 years. We are invested in Culpeper. I will represent every member of this community, and I'm seeking your support for Culpeper Town Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Remekes?
Well, excuse me. During my 16 years serving in Culpeper, 8 years as mayor, and now almost 8 years as a council member, council has always worked as a team, laying solid fiscal and infrastructure-based foundations that have allowed Culpeper to grow into the vibrant town that it is today. However, I also now see political ideology invading town politics, which does nothing towards serving the practical needs of the community. But I also believe that most of this divisiveness that we hear about is all in social media. It's not in the trenches where we're doing the work. Town and county have a interaction committee. When we get together, we're serious, we're doing business, we're not yelling at each other. I believe it's important to keep town council neutral and to put Culpeper first. Potholes don't care what your global view is or your worldview. They just want to be fixed. And that's where we are, just doing practical things for this town. I would like to continue my service with the town as an independent voice, to keep Culpeper moving forward as a united community. Thank you again for putting this all together. I appreciate your support. And you don't have to wait until November 2nd. You can vote now.
Thank you. Mr. Bobby Ryan.
I just would like to say I would like the town citizens and all first responders and fellow veterans to please vote for me on November the 2nd, 2021, and I will do everything I can to help the businesses and the citizens. Please vote for Bobby Ryan. Thank you.
Mr. Sapp.
Again, I'd like to thank the Chamber for putting this together. It's really appreciated for us to be able to have a voice that's more broad than our Facebook pages or what have you. I want to address something that was said by Mr. Brown. This is now the second time I've heard the comment about people and their politics being divisive in town and that he grew up here, so on and so forth. I think some of that itself, people that talk about divisiveness, in my opinion, what I hear, they're typically the ones dividing. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's a buzzword. There's no divisiveness here. We have 9 people, 10 people, including Mr. Ryan. Nobody mentioned divisiveness on this panel. And if it was mentioned as part of getting work done. So there's no division, but what is divided is that conversation. At the beginning, he said, I grew up here, I'm from here, so on and so forth. It goes back to my original statement. In this town, there are people that don't feel like they're represented because of generational divisiveness. That's where the problem lies when we talk about divisiveness. It isn't in politics. It doesn't matter what initials behind your name. It's about the people. Thomas Jefferson and John Adams did not get along because they were from 2 different parties. But guess what? They worked together to make this nation. From 2 different parties. They talked about each other behind each other's backs. They have friends that did it. Divisiveness is not the problem. When I'm elected to the town council, we're going to do things for the people. And it's going to be for all the people. There will never be a councilman when I'm on the council that goes to a neighborhood with me and uses the words, you know, I've never been here before. For a town councilman to make that statement, it says a lot about the town council and the people here.
Thank you, Mr. Sapp. Ms. Schmidt.
Well, this has gone by faster than I'd expected today. Kind of reminds me of speed dating. So I hope you've gathered enough information that you can select a servant leader that best represents what you would like to see here in our town. There is divisiveness. There we go. Divisiveness. We're experiencing very toxic political atmosphere in our nation that has spilled over into our lives. As you go door to door, people, it's the first thing they want to talk about is how things are so different here, and they're really tired of it. They're tired of the editorials they see in the paper. They're tired of that toxicity. They want to focus more on what the issues are here in town, and that's what we need to focus on. They're worried about the negativity and the division that's even affecting their children. As you've heard me say before in some of my writings, is I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what your religion is. What I care about is that you'll make a decision based on the values that you hold dear. I care about you feeling welcome here in the town that you've chosen and feeling like you can make a good life here. I want to help make decisions for Culpeper that make you feel that way. And if I'm fortunate enough to be elected for town council, those are the things that I'll work for, not things that divide us. And again, thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Short?
Culpeper is an amazing town. We have a very unique culture and philosophy here in this town. And there is a lot of divisiveness that we're struggling with. We do hear it. People that we're working with, people that we're talking with, whether I'm knocking on doors in neighborhoods or talking to business leaders across town. But I'm also very encouraged that the slide into divisiveness does appear to be slowing, and people are looking for solutions. They're beginning to talk about finding ways to become united. And I believe that's who we are. You've heard about a few issues here this evening. You've heard a lot about our water quality and how we can address that. Unfortunately, we don't have time to talk about how we can help our homeless find safe shelter and find a path forward in life. We haven't talked about being able to provide tax incentives to small businesses so they can grow and large businesses so they can relocate here. We know we're losing Continental. We're very sad about that. We also know that Amazon is eyeing a property here in town, potentially for a distribution center. That opens up a pathway to large growth for us. We need to continue to expand our co-responder program with our police department. We need to find a way to support fire and emergency services. We need to establish those recreational activities and points of interest, not just for our kids, but for the families that will be moving here. I would bet if we took a poll, the majority of people here, either on stage or off stage, or those who are watching online, you've either served in the military or you have family that have. You've served as a first responder, law enforcement, emergency dispatch, fire and rescue, or family that has. You've served at a church or you have family that has. That's what unites us. That's who Culpeper is. The other thing that I believe that is important to us is service and integrity. And those are the things that I would love to have, love to be able to bring to town council, should I earn the honor of your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Short.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Sledge?
Someone asked me, how am I going to be able to separate being a pastor and a politician? And after a couple of months thinking about that and going out, it's impossible, and I'm not going to even try. Because as a pastor, I have to have empathy for people. And I want to have that same empathy as a politician. I don't want to be a cold-blooded politician. I want to care about the people and their concerns. I want to be out there with the people. I want to cry with the people. I want to see what their needs are. Because as a leader, one thing we can never forget is that we are servants first. We work for the people of Culpeper. And I want Culpeper to be a place where everybody is seen, everybody is heard. We have an African-American community here that feel like they're not being heard. We don't want to talk, we didn't talk about it. They feel like they're not being heard. And we have to show that empathy. In order to bring it back, we have to start listening to each other. And listening does not mean waiting on your turn to talk, but it means listening and comprehending and trying to figure out what we can do to bring things together. We are Culpeper. I'm not interested, we have some great candidates here, but here's the thing. I'm not running against anyone. I'm running for Culpeper. I'm here for Culpeper. I served the Army, I served as a pastor, and I'm ready to serve this great community. Because I want people, when they come to this community, and the people who live in this community, that when they leave here and they go to the Gatlinburg, Tennessee, they go to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, they go to Seattle, Washington, they go to Los Angeles, they go to Washington, D.C., they go to Austin and San Antonio, Texas, that everywhere they go, when people ask them where they're from, I don't no longer have to say I'm from San Antonio. I want to be that person say I am from Culpeper. We have a love sign right down, and that's what we need to look like. So listen, I'm not running against anyone. I'm going to be your servant. I'm running for Culpeper. Let's do some great things. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you once again
Yao.
for hosting us tonight. I'm just a local guy, and I tell you, I've had conservative principles ever since I've been on council. I will continue to provide, I think, sound judgment as we move forward. Do we have problems in town? Of course we have some problems. Every community does. I think we are addressing those. We're coming up with solutions for them, and it's a work in progress, like a lot of things are. I love promoting Culpeper and meeting the new citizens that come here because they feel the same way. You look back over the years of what's transpired in Culpeper, it's a destination place now. Tourists love coming here. Why? We have provided a great downtown and a great community. That's why people want to live here. So my phone has always been open to any of your concerns. I've always answered your questions or at least pointed you in the right direction if I can't give you the advice that you need. I think the citizens come first, but I also, once again, want to reiterate that I think the foremost responsibility of a person on council is their fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayer's tax dollar. And the second thing is providing good public service, which I think we've proven here tonight by stating what our police department has done and what they have achieved, that we have accomplished that. I'd also like to say that I want to serve you for 4 more years. And I'd like to ask for your vote on November the 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidates, thank you for sharing your analysis, your vision, and your solutions. I wish each one of you the very best. Thank you for your time.